So I think we're up to number 37. Yitaka b'shofar gadol. Anyone know what that is? Well, you know what shofar is. And what is shofar gadol? A great shofar. So what is that referring to? Right. When Moshiach comes, we say it's in the davening, it says that Hashem will blow a big shofar, and that'll be like sounding the alarm to gather together all the Jews from around the world. We had a class on this, what it means. Is it metaphoric? Is it physical? But I'm writing this so you should be familiar with the term Yitaka b'shofar gadol. Again, we have this in davening, that when Mashiach comes, there'll be this big shofar that will inspire Yidden to follow Mashiach and to go to Eretz Yisrael. The next one is 38. This is also from davening, even though originally it's a verse in Tanakh. Vashiva Shevtayich K'Rishona. Do you remember that from the Shemona Esrei? What does it mean? These three words alone. Ashiva, Shoftayich. What does Shoftim mean? Anybody know? Judges. Okay, so now you should figure it out. Ashiva, I will return your judges like in the early days, which means that when the Jews were living in Israel and we had a Beis Hamikdash, we also had the greatest sages of Israel, and they compromised the Sanhedrin. And the Sanhedrin made all the rulings for the Jewish people. That was like the central ruling of halacha for all Jews around the world. Mashiach comes, we'll once again have those judges. Number 38, 39 rather. Vesruach hatuma avir min haaretz. What does ruach mean? Spirit. Tuma. What's going to happen with the spirit of impurity when Mashiach comes? Right. So these are the words. Also, it's a quote from a pasuk where it says, "The spirit of impurity I will eliminate. I will take it away from the world." Which means there won't be Yetzer Hara, and there won't be any force to klipa then. Goyg u'magoyg. Right. Gog and Magog is the name of two kingdoms. Naturally, these are biblical words. And there's a prophecy, there's a whole chapter in one of the books of the prophets, how before Mashiach comes, there'll be a war between Gog and Magog. Anytime there was any kind of big war, people will always say, maybe this is Gog and Magog, because we don't know who those nations are today. Now that there's a big conflict between the West and the Muslims, people say, oh, maybe that's Gog and Magog. In the times of Germany, people said maybe that's Gog and Magog. But this is also one of those things that, thank you very much, even though it appears that this will be a war, it's a prophecy about a war physically, but we know, like many other things, that if we merit, it'll never happen in the physical way. And it could also have a meaning in some sort of a spiritual, figurative way of some sort of a controversy between Gog and Magog, but it shouldn't be war and bloodshed and so on. But it's one of the terms that are very closely associated with Mashiach. It's Gog and Magog. 41. Again, what I'm doing now is not so much to go into the details because we covered a lot of this during the year. Just one thing that you should be familiar with the terms. And when you say these words, what it's referring to. 41. Ki meitzeischa me'eretz Mitzrayim erenu neflois. also a verse. It's a verse and a prophecy which says that just like you went out of Egypt, that's how I will show you wonders in the future. Which means just like when the Eden went out of Egypt, there were miracles upon miracles, the 10 plagues, the splitting of the sea, the man falling from Shemayim, the clouds surrounding them, the Be'er, the well of Miriam that traveled with them. So just like going out of Egypt, there were amazing miracles. When Mashiach will come, we'll also see amazing miracles. That's what this means. And we mentioned this many times in class. 1991 in Hebrew was Tov Shin Nun Aleph. Nun Aleph. And that year, the Rebbe was saying that Nun Aleph are the same two words. It's the acronym for these two words. Niflois Arenu. I will show you wonders. And at that point, the Rebbe was saying that the miracles we saw that year, the miracles that Jews who were locked in Russia for 70 years, the doors were unlocked and they were able to leave and they were able to practice Judaism in Russia freely. This is a miracle, and it's part of the miracles leading up to redemption. And the other thing was the miracle with the war in Iraq, where unfortunately, right now, Israel is also being attacked with rockets. The Arabs shot over 1,000 rockets into Israel. And unfortunately, people were killed, people were injured. At the time, when Saddam Hussein attacked Israel in 1991, 39 Scud missiles, the very powerful missiles, hit Israel in different places, and not one single person was killed from all these missiles. And again, the Rebbe said this was an incredible miracle. It was a miracle that he didn't use chemical warheads, because that would have done so much more unfortunate damage. But the Rebbe was saying this is the fulfillment, the beginning of the fulfillment of this verse. That when Mashiach comes, we will see miracles, which is just like we saw when we went out of Egypt. 42. La'avdei kulam shchem echad. Again, a pasuk, it's a verse that's mentioned very often and is reiterated by the Rebbe in the Sichos, I would say, way over 1,000 times. And it means that when Mashiach comes, all the nations of the world will recognize Hashem and they will serve him. It means shoulder to shoulder, which means we'll all be serving the same God. We'll all believe in Hashem and serve Hashem. The Yidden will serve Hashem by doing their mitzvahs. The non-Jews will serve Hashem by doing their mitzvahs, but we'll all be serving Hashem. That's what these words mean. La'avdei, they'll be serving. Kulam, all of them. Shchem echad, one shoulder, shoulder to shoulder. It's a way of saying in a united way. Number 43 is something which we all know from davening. It's in Aleinu, also related to Mashiach. What does that mean? What is it? And now there's also one God. So what does it mean? It means Hashem will be one and his name will be one. It means that all the nations will recognize him as well. Right now, we recognize it, but other nations don't recognize it. Then Hashem will be one, meaning he'll be one recognized by all nations, and there won't be any other gods that they would worship or believe in. Okay, I want to take a little break from this list, and let's do these sheets. Thank you. We mentioned it the other day, but not with all its details. So it says when Mashiach will come, there'll be a big feast. In the 3 sheets you have, look at the last sheet actually. It's from Gemara. And it says like this. In the future, I'm looking at the English paragraph, or the middle of the paragraph. In the future, the Holy One, blessed be He, will prepare a feast for the righteous on the day that He extends His mercy to the descendants of Isaac. Meaning to say, when Mashiach comes and all the righteous people will be back again, there'll be a big feast, a big meal. And after they eat and drink and they celebrate, so we know that at the end of a meal, the custom is that you take a cup of wine and you make a bracha when you do the benching after the meal. So they're going to honor Avram Avinu, and they say, here, you make the blessing over the wine, because you're the first of all the forefathers. Next paragraph, Avram will say, no, I will not recite the blessing because I am blemished. Because Yishmael, who is not a tzaddik, he's a wicked person, he came from me, so therefore I'm not suitable to do this. So he'll say to Yitzchak, okay, you take the cup of wine. And Yitzchak will say, I won't recite the blessing because Esav, who is wicked, he came from me. Then Yitzchak will say to Yaakov, okay, you take the cup of wine, you recite the blessing over the wine. And Yaakov will say, no, I will not recite the blessing because I married two sisters, Rachel and Leah, and this was during their lifetime. And in the future, the Torah will forbade people to have two sisters. So even though at the time that he married her, he was allowed to, but nevertheless, being that later, when the Torah, it became prohibited, I don't think that it's appropriate for me to do the blessing. Then he turned to Moshe. Let's turn the next page. Turn over the sheet. And then Yaakov will say to Moshe, you take the cup of wine and make the blessing. Moshe will say, I will not make the blessing because I didn't merit to go into Eretz Yisrael, not during my lifetime and not even after. He wasn't buried in Eretz Yisrael. So he doesn't deserve, he's not suitable to make this blessing. Then Moshe will say to his successor, Yoshua, you take the cup and recite the blessing. And Yeshua will say, I will not recite the blessing. I did not merit to have a son. Like it says, and brings a source. So why is that a reason why he can't make the, I don't know, but obviously that was his answer. And then Yeshua will turn to King David and say, you take the cup. And David Melech will say, yes, I will recite the blessing. And it's actually fitting for me to recite the blessing. And he quotes a pasuk in Tehillim, which is written by King David, which says, I will lift up the cup of salvation and I will call upon the name of Hashem. Kos Yeshuas Esa or V'Shem Hashem Ekra. You actually have this verse every Shabbos in Havdalah, we say it, which means that making the blessing over the cup of wine is specifically related to David HaMelech. In Chassidus, there's explanations to this, that David HaMelech personifies Malchus, kingdom. Hashem's kingdom is revealed in the world through David HaMelech and his descendants. And the cup also is connected to the attribute of kingdom, but that's a Hasidic discussion. I'm not going to go into that now. So let's go back about this meal. What's going to be by the meal? So when you eat a meal, there's fish, there's meat, there's wine. So here there'll also be fish, but it'll be some unusual fish and unusual meat, unusual wine. Let's see what it says. The Leviathan banquet is mentioned many times in Chazal, that Hashem will when time comes, make a banquet, meaning a big feast for the righteous, and they'll eat the Leviathan. The Medrash describes that at that time there'll be a battle that'll take place between the Shar Habar, which is an ox, and the Leviathan. So the ox will be like this huge ox. The Leviathan is a huge fish, a huge whale, and they'll have some sort of they'll be wrestling. The Shar Habar will batter the Leviathan with its horns, and the Leviathan will batter the Shar Habar with its fins and pierce through it. And that's what's going to happen. Again, is this physical? Is this a metaphor? But we just want to read what it says. Then they bring this piece that I just read to you, so I'm going to skip this, about making the bracha on the wine. Although the Leviathan banquet may appear to be no more than a quaint folklore, its deep secrets penetrate the essence of Geula. In fact, there are Hasidic discourses that explain what this is all about. The banquet is not just a parable, it'll indeed occur. The Moshiach know that we must believe all these things in their most literal sense. Although the commentaries extrapolate the explanations according to their understanding, and there's much depth to the story, but you can't remove it in the content from its simple meaning. And the Rebbe writes, nevertheless, it is obvious that the account of the banquet does not refer to the Shara Bar Ulav Yosan that we are familiar with. Chazal means the sages, that Hashem created only one male of Yosan and one female. And these are whales that are huge, much greater than the normal whale. And these two never reproduce because he castrated the male and killed the female, that there shouldn't be any offspring. Oops, are we missing a page? I guess I forgot to put in a page. I'm sorry. There's another page here, I guess I forgot, must have slipped out somehow. Maybe it's here, let me just check.
I didn't realize they were double-sided copies.
Uh-huh.
And I made them single-sided. I'm sorry. I want to bring them up soon.
Okay. Anyway, what it said on the other side of the page, it explains what it says in Chassidus, that these two, the fish and the Shor Habar, this huge whale and this huge ox, they really represent different things that are going on in this world, and really it's representing two ways of serving Hashem. The general difference is fish live under the water and they're basically hidden. An ox is something that lives on the land and it's exposed. And he goes on to explain that there are two kinds of tzaddikim. There's certain righteous people that their goal is to bring godliness into this world, but they live a kind of a life that is more removed from the physical world. And like recently, we spoke about Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Remember we said that he and his son were in a cave for 13 years. Nobody knew where they were. So if that's the case, how do they eat matzah on Pesach? How did they drink wine on Shabbos? How did they have a lulav and an esrog on Sukkot? They weren't able to observe these mitzvahs. So it says in Kabbalah that yes, they didn't do the mitzvahs because they had no choice. They had to do whatever they can to save their lives. But when you do a mitzvah, you're basically drawing down certain levels of godliness, certain godly light into the world. So when they were in the cave, because they were such great righteous people, they brought down that light, but it wasn't connected to a physical esrog, a physical lulav, physical matzah, physical wine, which means they brought the godliness down, but not in a way that it sort of penetrated the physical realm. It was more in a spiritual way. It was sort of hidden. That was quick.
I didn't.
Super speed. Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, let me just give it out. Sorry, yeah. Thank you. So I'm reading from page 157. Some tzaddikim, they resemble the Leviathan. They aspire to exalted spiritual heights. They're not so much into bringing holiness down into the world. Like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, he lived in a cave for 13 years. He was divorced from the physical world. His entire avodah, means his spiritual service, was dealing with things in a spiritual way. Other tzaddikim are more like the Shor Habar, which represents that the spirituality has to be brought down to sanctify the physical world. And even now, by the way, there's certain tzaddikim, I'm sure you heard this, there are 36 hidden tzaddikim. In every generation, there are people, they look like regular people, Some of them even look like simple people, but in reality, they're hidden tzaddikim. It might be somebody in this room. You don't have to identify yourself, but you never know. There's stories of people who lived lives like a tailor, a water carrier. This guy was a smith. This one did this. This one did that. No one even suspected that these people even have knowledge of Torah. But really, they were hidden tzaddikim. They studied Torah in a hidden way, which means their mission was like the fish. They live in a hidden way. They live in a way that it's them and Hashem, but they weren't really affecting in a very open way their environment, people around them, because people, in fact, didn't learn Torah from them, didn't get any guidance from them, because everything they did was in a hidden way. And like everything else, there's an advantage in one way, there's an advantage in the other way, and that's what it means that there's going to be a battle, which means there'll be this discussion about what are the advantages in spirituality and what are the advantages in doing things in the physical world. I just want to give an example of something which is found in Tanya, but the source is Pirkei Avos. Have you ever come across this, which on the surface looks like a paradox? It says in Pirkei Avos that one moment of pleasure in the world to come, which is the spiritual realm where the soul goes after its passing, one moment of pleasure in that world is worth more than an entire lifetime of pleasure in this physical world. Okay. But then it says, in the same breath, that one moment of Torah mitzvahs in the physical world is greater than an entire lifetime in that world. It's clearly a contradiction. Anyone know the answer to that question? Anyone remember the answer from anywhere? Anything you learned? Everybody's afraid to speak. Okay. What if you don't say the right thing? Okay, I will spare you the fear, and I'll explain it. Now, the Rebbe explains that it means as follows. Whatever pleasure a person could experience in this world, whether it's pleasure from physical things, from food, entertainment, sports, or it's pleasure from spiritual things, is insignificant to the pleasure that the soul can experience up there. Because the body limits us. And when the soul is in the body, everything it experiences is limited. Up there, it's a soul without a body. So the pleasure the soul experiences, and that pleasure is from spiritual things, is unlimited pleasure. You can't even compare it to anything else. And therefore, we can say that one moment of pleasure up there, even if a person would have 70 years of pleasure after pleasure after pleasure, no aggravation, nothing painful, nothing that bothers you, just pleasure. Imagine 70 consecutive years of pleasure, 120 pleasure years, nothing else. It's nothing compared to one moment of pleasure up there, because that's, it's like saying, imagine a fly would be flying, for years. Imagine how far it can get, but it fly a distance nonstop. But a spaceship, what a fly can do in a whole lifetime, a spaceship can do it in a minute, be hundreds of miles away in no time. The pleasure up there is so much greater. So then what's the advantage down here in the physical world? The advantage in the physical world is that when we do Torah, we do mitzvahs, we connect to the essence of Hashem, to his essence. And his essence is infinitely, in other words, up there we can understand him, we can appreciate him, it's compared to, it's the light of Hashem. There's something that manifests from Hashem. But the essence of Hashem, one gets only in the physical world when you do a mitzvah, a simple mitzvah. Even if we don't even understand what's going on, but if you do the actual mitzvah, it's like connecting to the essence of Hashem. And the essence is infinitely greater than its manifestation. That's the way it's explained in Chassidus. So therefore, one moment of doing mitzvahs in this world, and one of the things that perhaps bring this out in a very powerful way is the Baal Shem Tov once said that we know there are angels that serve Hashem and they're spiritual. and they serve Hashem, and their service to Hashem is so much greater than ours because they have no Yetzer Hara, and they're spiritual, they're less limited. And there's some angels that have been around since the beginning of creation. So by now, they've been around for 5,781 years serving Hashem. Can imagine how much spiritual wealth they have accumulated. So Baal Shem Tov says, the angels will say to you, if you can hear them speak, that I would be ready to give away everything that I accumulated over all these years spiritually and exchange with you for one of your mitzvahs. Because a mitzvah is connecting to the essence of Hashem. And everything up there is the manifestation of Hashem, not the essence. And the essence of Hashem is infinitely greater than all the light that could shine from. I know it's very hard to explain because you have to learn a lot of Chassidus to explain it and understand it. But I once heard someone explain with a mashal. I'll try to use that. Maybe that'll give you a little bit of an understanding of what I'm saying. To use this analogy, imagine if a woman, her husband went on a trip and never came back home. Unfortunately, those days, nobody had the communication we have today, so you don't know what happened. God forbid, did he die on the way? Was the boat sink? Was it captured by pirates? Is he alive, but he's captured somewhere? So naturally, she was mourning. It was very upsetting. She was in a lot of grief. And she had young children. But this man was an exceptional person. He wrote many books, personal for himself. He wrote books in Torah. He wrote books in math, books in science. He wrote books with humor, a lot of different books, stories. She wanted the children who didn't have a chance to meet their father to learn more about him and to understand him. And by reading these books, they'll get an idea of what was going on in his mind, what kind of person he was. They read his Torah insights. They read, and there was volumes of books. So therefore, they spent most of the time reading these books. And that's how they thought about their father. They were connected to their father. And that was somehow comforting to her. This went on for 10 years. 10 years later, someone came running into the house, screaming at the top of their lungs, that her husband just came home. He got off a boat. Apparently, he was held captive somewhere, but he's alive, and now he's come home. Try to imagine this scenario. Could you see the children looking at the books, they're reading and say, let's wait a little bit. I want to finish this chapter. I haven't finished this chapter. I'm right in the middle of something, and I don't want to interrupt. Would that make sense? Now, when they're going to run to see their father, why they're running? Because they're going to get more wisdom, more humor. They're going to get more stories. No, there's so much of these books. They haven't even finished half of it yet. So where are they running? Would this wife think for one moment that, well, it's not so important. After all, she has all these books. So she won't run to the port to meet her husband. Or she'll just drop everything and run. If it's a good marriage. So the answer is, when she's going to go there, she's not going to get more wisdom, more humor, but what she's going to have is the essence, the person. Here, it's his wisdom, it's his humor, it's his wisdom in this field, his wisdom in that field, but it's not him. There is the essence of the person. And that's what you want. That's what the children want. That's what the wife wants. Anyone that you love, that's what you want. You want the essence. So basically, that's the same with Hashem. Hashem's essence is only found in one place. In Tefillin, in the mezuzah, in matzah, in esrog, in lulav, in shachris, in davening, in learning. In the spiritual world, that's where you have the light of Hashem. They understand Hashem in a way like no one could understand. They feel the pleasure of all their understanding like no place else. But they don't have the essence of Hashem. The essence is over here. And that essence we connect to through doing a mitzvah physically. So therefore, there are two kinds of tzaddikim. There's certain tzaddikim that they're preoccupied primarily in bringing more godly light into the world, but not so much in connecting to the physical. And there are other tzaddikim where their goal was mainly to transform the physical world. They were involved with people, with communities, with actions in the physical world. And there is an advantage in both, just like there's an advantage in heaven over earth, and there's an advantage in earth over heaven. But this is, in a sense, what was symbolized by these two, Leviathan and Sherabar. But again, it does mean there'll be an actual male, but the pleasure will be then from understanding the advantage and this way of serving Hashem, the other way of serving Hashem. It's not that when Mashiach comes, we'll have, like I told you the other day, we're going to have the best fish in the world, and we'll realize that it was worth it, everything that we went through to have good fish. It'll be perfect salt, perfect amount of spices, perfect amount, everything will be very tasty. That would be the biggest joke, to think that this is what we've been waiting for thousands of years, to have very good fish, very good meat, very good wine. So obviously there will be fish, meat, and wine, but it'll contain in it tremendous spiritual wealth. That's what it means. And when it comes to wine, if you look at the next page, 158, it's even more clear that there'll be wine which will be ancient wine, preserved from the 6 days of creation. So wine in general always represents something which is a hidden secret. I think I told you once, maybe in the beginning of the year, that the Gemara says when wine goes in, the secrets come out. And it's interesting that the Hebrew word for wine is yayin, and the numerical value of the word yayin is 70. The Hebrew word for secret is sod, and the numerical value of that word is also 70. So when the wine goes in, the secrets go out. Literally, it means when a person drinks wine, his tongue becomes loose and things come out. In Yiddish, there's a saying that when a person drinks, then whatever's on your lung comes out on your tongue. In Yiddish, it also rhymes. But that's technical. Spiritually, it means that wine has a certain power in it to bring out the hidden. And that's why Shabbos we sanctify with wine, Yontif we sanctify with wine, Pesach we drink 4 cups of wine, at a wedding we make a bracha over a cup of wine, by benching we make benching over a cup of wine. And there's so many things where wine is very much part of what's going on spiritually, because when a person drinks wine, in the Beis HaMikdash, by the way, one of the things they did, they poured wine on the Mizbeach. Because wine has in it this trait, this property, that it brings out the hidden of what's hidden in us, and also what's hidden in the spiritual realm. So therefore, when Mashiach comes, being that then the most hidden secrets of the world will become revealed, we'll be able to understand, see, perceive Hashem. So therefore, it'll physically come about through us drinking this wine that's going to reveal in the world that which has been hidden for thousands of years. Look at the next little short paragraph, the dance of Geula. When Geula comes, it says our mouth will be filled with laughter. Not only because Golus has ended, but because creation will have fulfilled its purpose. Hashem and the Jewish people will then rejoice together by dancing. The Gemara says, in the days to come, the Holy One, blessed be He, will make a circle for the righteous. He will sit in the middle, and they'll dance around Him. Again, of course, it's a metaphor, but what it means is that the joy will break all barriers. The joy will be beyond anything we can imagine. And all the tzaddikim will be dancing, and Hashem being in the middle means Hashem's presence will be revealed. And then we will experience the highest level of joy. So I guess there'll be a feast. We'll probably have some music, and we'll have dancing and singing. And that's why one of the ways of preparing for Mashiach is through dancing and singing and rejoicing, because we're sort of preparing for that time that we're going to have all this in a much greater measure. When the Rebbe said that we should be calling out to Hashem and say, we want Mashiach now, but he insisted we should be singing, not crying. And that's by singing, which means through Simcha, we hasten Mashiach's coming. I just wanted to point out one more thing. The connection between Shavuos and Mashiach is who passed away on Shavuos? You're learning Ruth, David HaMelech. And also the Baal Shem Tov also passed away on the same day on Shavuos. And in the Chassidus it says that, and there's a chapter in Tanya dedicated to this, that when a tzaddik passes away, all the Torah and all the mitzvahs and all the good deeds that he did throughout his whole lifetime, but the day that he passes, that's when that has its full impact on the world. And therefore, every year when that anniversary of that day comes around, the day that he passed away the first time, the second time, the third time, every year, whatever it is that his Torah and mitzvahs and good deeds had a spiritual impact on the world, reoccurs once again, and every year reoccurs even in a greater measure than the year before. So that means that if Mashiach is connected to David HaMelech, to King David, so it means that Shavuos is a day that's very closely connected to Mashiach. And the same with the Baal Shem Tov. We learned earlier in the year that the Baal Shem Tov was told that through spreading the teachings of Chassidus, the hidden secrets of Torah, that hastens Mashiach's coming. So this was the mission of the Baal Shem Tov. This was what his life was all about. So again, Shavuos is connected to a day that brings redemption. And then there's a third person that Shavuos is connected to. He also has some connection to Shavuos. His name was Moshe Rabbeinu. Because after all, he's the one who gave us the Torah. And he was the first one to redeem the Jewish people. So all three are sort of symbols of redemption, and that's all connected to Shavuos. So Shavuos is a day to focus on, it's a day to pray and ask Hashem to bring Mashiach. Okay. And I'm sure you learned in the classes, probably in the halacha classes, that it's very important on Shavuos to be in shul when they read the Torah the first day, because they read the Ten Commandments. And it's very important to hear the Ten Commandments on that day. In fact, the Rebbe insisted that even children, even infants, should be brought to shul on that day. I remember the first year, it was in the 1970s, where the Rebbe came out and said that everyone should make an effort that even infants should be brought to shul. There was such a rain, such a downpour. I don't ever remember before or after such a rain. People went to shul with garbage bags on their heads. But like anything else, if there's something good that has to happen, there's always going to be something to make it a little bit more challenging, so that there's more virtue in the good that I'm doing. So that's what happened. The first time that Rebbe came out and said how important it is that everybody come to shul, there was already something blocking. But rains are not so dangerous like other things, like they had in other countries in Russia where they had to do Torah mitzvahs under the threat of jail and things like that. Okay, so to be continued. You're very welcome.